Just talk about the emotion of the game.
Just got to find ways to win the football game.
Is this as disappointing as you've been in a while, Ken?
Next question.
The slow start, this has been a kind of characteristic of this team this year. Why do you think that?
Just got to find ways to win the football game.
After tying it up there late in the fourth quarter, how frustrating is it to be on the sideline helpless watching?
Next question.
Where did the team go from that game?
That's it, right?
So there's that. We've seen this before, of course, post-Super Bowl, and the Panthers dropping to 1-5 on the season after they lost 41-38 to the Saints. Max, I want to start with you here. Is Cam's press conference a big deal?
I can't believe I'm saying this. Yes, it's a big deal. Now, let me start by saying football's not like baseball or basketball where we have huge sample sizes, so many games that we really know what the truth is all the time, especially early in a season. Because there are so few games, we're making guesses. We don't know if things are causal, meaning this happened, so that happened, or if it's just correlation. This happened and that happened. But because of that, if we notice a correlation and it's a bad one, that's bad for the players. So Cam gets up at the Super Bowl press conference and does this same thing and storms off, and since then they're 1-5. They're bad. They went from being world beaters, just about, couldn't get over the hump of the Broncos, but it's only the second game they lost all season, including the regular season, to, so far, let's say what it is, one of the worst teams in the NFL, 1-5. It's one of the worst teams in the NFL. And that happened right after he pulled this at the Super Bowl. And then he just did it again. Now, I'm generally one who says, I hate when the media makes a big deal about the way athletes talk to the media. We turn it into this story about moral rectitude and leadership and character. You have to have character to face the media. That's all. That's mostly BS. We're doing it because it makes it easier for us to do our jobs. So we put a lot of pressure on the athletes to make our jobs easier. But for the most part, I didn't care that he stormed off in the Super Bowl after in the press conference. I cared he didn't jump on the ball in the game. That's what who cares what happens afterwards? But if since then you're 1-5 and then you do it again, that's a bad look. And how do we know it's a big deal? Because the Carolina Panthers brought in Frank Luntz, the right-wing media strategist, to advise the team and Cam Newton how to talk to the media. They thought it was a big enough deal. They had to bring in a specialist to coach him. And then this happens again. That's a big deal.
I disagree with you. I don't think it's a big deal at all in this particular instance about Cam Newton, because to me, the Carolina Panthers and their problems are not about Cam Newton. What you had was a situation in the Super Bowl where Cam Newton needed to exude a level of maturity because you had been dabbing and celebrating and doing all of this stuff all year long, and then you lose the Super Bowl, and we needed to see a better level of maturity from you. In yesterday's situation, you are 1-5. You're the reigning NFC champions. You are 1-5. You are down 21-0. You come back. You tied the score at 38. You give the ball to your defense, which, by the way, was ranked number 6 last year, which was one of the elite defenses in the NFL last year, which not only had an elite front seven, but had one of the elite corners of the game in Josh Norman. Your defense is now ranked 29th. It's ranked 25th against the pass. Max Kellerman, have you ever heard of Zach Sanchez? You ever heard of that name? Anybody ever heard that? You ever heard that name? How about Daryl Worley? You ever heard of that name? Anybody ever heard of that name?
That I've heard.
You heard of Daryl? The only reason you heard about Daryl Worley is because he's been getting beat. It's the only reason you've been hearing about him, because he's a rookie. The other dude is Zach Sanchez. These were their starting corners yesterday against Drew Brees. Against Drew Brees. This is your starting cornerback slot, okay? So what I'm saying to you is this. You ever heard of some dude named Trey Boston? Ever heard of that name? I never heard of it. That was your free safety yesterday. See, this is what I'm trying to tell. You're Cam Newton. You got this dude, Dave Gettleman, who's your GM, who did a good job leading in the last year, okay, and who was wise to stick with Ron Rivera. But ultimately, it's not just that you let Josh Norman go. You made him an offer, and then you reneged. You took it off the table. I cannot tell you how much that hurts. I cannot tell you how excruciatingly ticked off you can be if somebody betrays you like that. The bottom line is this. When you look at Cam Newton, he had to stand up front and center for the media And as far as I'm concerned, answer questions his general manager should have had to answer. Why are we in this situation? Why did I give you the ball with a tie game, come back, tied up 38-0, and you got 2 minutes to shut down Drew Brees and to force this game into overtime, and they march right down the field and kick a game-winning field goal? How come our defense couldn't stop anybody? That's what this is about. And to me, Cam Newton sit up there, he's terse, he's short, because he can't speak truth to power. He can't sit up there and say, yo, they ain't doing their job. Our offense is doing the job. We got an offense ranked in the top 10. We got an offense, we got a running game and a passing game ranked in the top 10. This ain't on us. This is on these brothers right here. And it ain't even on the front stuff. You got Kuechly balling, you got Thomas Davis balling, you got Ely and a couple of dudes balling, but collectively as a defense, they're nowhere to be found. Their secondary is just scattered. It's a mess right now. And you know why it is? Because of arrogance. Because you see, when you're on top and you're a champion, you're supposed to act like you still starving. Remember, one of my favorite lines that I always say about my man Kevin Garnett, who is going into the Hall of Fame someday. I always said this: his level of dedication, his focus, and the way that he played when he had the ability to before Father Time caught up to him. No matter how much money he had, him, Kobe, LeBron, guys like that, no matter how much money they got, they play like they broke. They never take anything for granted. The Carolina Panthers took stuff for granted, and that's why they're in this position.
As usual, you make my point for me. Who's the leader of the team?
It's supposed to be Cam Newton.
It's supposed to be Cam Newton.
Right.
And what did you say the real problem was?
I say Dave
A
Gettleman.
word, the arrogance. That's what you said.
Yes.
Problem is arrogance.
I don't think that's the case with
and
him.
Who's the leader of the team? But the point is, we hear time and again from every football expert we bring in, we know from living on the earth for 40-plus years and watching a lot of NFL and from having rational brains, that part of the job of a quarterback is to deflect credit when good things happen and absorb blame when bad things happen. That's part of the leadership of the quarterback position, not to stand up there, essentially say no comment, and then storm off. And if your analysis is it's because he's mad because the other side of the ball isn't balling, that's even worse.
It's not that. It's not just that the other side of the ball or the other side of the ball isn't balling. It's that you got cats who don't play on the field making decisions that aren't in the best interest of the franchise. If something ain't broke, what the hell you fixing it for? What you mess with it for? You got Josh Norman, who's one of the elite corners in the game. You had him, and not only that, you made an offer and then took it off the table.
So you mean to tell me
yes.
that a quarterback is justified, or it's no big deal if a quarterback behaves that way, which generally don't care about how they treat the media, but right. After what happened with the Super Bowl, after how they played this year, we know what the quarterback's position is, the face of the franchise, almost on the verge of being the face of the NFL, leading into the Super Bowl last year. I thought we were living in Cam Newton's world. It didn't quite turn out that way.
I tried to tell you that.
It didn't quite turn out that way. But you mean to tell me that he's justified in doing it, or it's no big deal?
Justified in doing what?
Not answering questions and storming off because they didn't sign a cornerback last year?
I'm telling you.
They should look back in the rearview mirror
do you
and harp
Do you
on
want to
that?
talk, or do you want to answer to your question? I'll answer your question. I am telling you that Cam Newton, I found no problem with what he did yesterday. I'm not saying that you don't answer questions and you storm up and you don't show up to a press conference.
Why don't you have a problem? Because they didn't sign Josh Norman? You don't have a problem?
I said to you what he did yesterday to me.
But you're using it as an excuse that it's okay
not a problem.
because they didn't sign Josh Norman.
Because of yesterday.
They didn't ask him about the defense.
But I don't have a problem with yesterday.
Yeah, I know. We've made that very clear. We're talking about yesterday.
Because what I'm saying to you is that I didn't see his behavior to be extreme. I didn't find it to be. You're answering questions in a short fashion. Yeah. And then you ultimately leave.
I don't have a problem with that. You didn't answer a question. Next question is not an answer to a question. And they didn't say, Cam, how do you feel about them not signing Josh Norman?
He answered
Cam,
about 4 or 5 questions.
Defense?
Bill Belichick does it.
He answered about 4. He had nothing to say.
Really.
He had nothing to say.
Not really.
He had nothing to say.
And then he walked off. It was exactly like the Super Bowl.
No,
What's the difference?
The Super Bowl was successively different because it was a complete reversal from what we had seen from him all year.
But now we know to expect this from him? After they brought in a media consultant?
When you're 1-5, yes!
Right. No, when you're 1-5, that's when you have to stand there and answer all the questions. Like, that's certainly the received wisdom.
I saw him answering questions Wednesday. I saw him answer questions a couple of weeks ago when they had lost.
So he did it twice, so it's okay.
But when you're 1-5,
Yeah.
when you're 1-5, and you're blowing leads and giving up 41 points, you got a problem.
You think the Panthers think this is a big deal?
I think they think they're a big deal, not Cam. He ain't the problem. They're the problem.
He's the leader of the team.
They're the problem.
They might have more of an issue if he was nonchalant after having a 1-5 record.
I'm the biggest
Just
Cam
throwing
fan
it-
in the world.
Yes,
Can't believe I'm saying this.
tier one over here. We want you guys to win. Which reaction do you have the biggest problem with from the NFL on Sunday? Cam post-game presser, Richard Sherman tirade, or OBJ taking his helmet off after scoring the go-ahead touchdown, costing his team some yards? We will reveal the results a little later in the show. Weigh in on that. And speaking of Beckham, Odell did what Odell does on Sunday, for better and for worse, folks. Someone at this desk is down on OBJ after his game winner. Ryan Clark will be here. Join us. Listen to this, folks. You can win a chance to debate Stephen A. and Max right here on national television. We're going to pick two winners, fly you to ESPN headquarters in Bristol, Connecticut. All you have to do is go to firsttakeyourtake.com. Be sure to read and follow all the rules for your chance to win. Then it's easy. Upload a 1-minute video with your best original sports debate. Please keep it clean. Plus, no music, team logos, trademarks, or copyrighted material. And we just want you guys to be yourself on camera and try to impress these two. Winners will be announced November 23rd by our show staff, so get busy, and we could see you in Bristol at the debate desk, taking on Stephen A. and Max. Meanwhile, let's take a look at some of the entries that have been submitted. Thank you for playing.
Dak Prescott, leave him to start. Until he starts disimproving, then you can get Tony Romo. But come on, Stephen A. Smith. Come on, Max. We both know he can't stay healthy for the life of him.
You got to give it up to Dak Prescott. He was a 4th-round draft pick by Dallas. People messed up. People picked Jared Goff. People picked Carson Wentz, Ezekiel Elliott, all these players. Where's Jared Goff now? Jared Goff is still, what, 2nd-string quarterback over Casey Keenum?
Are you familiar with the movie Any Given Sunday? Tony Romo is Cap, the old veteran quarterback that's injury-prone, who's past his prime. Jerry Jones is Al Pacino, the coach who's stuck with the old quarterback, with the talented young Willie Beeman, that in this case is Dak Prescott.
I love it. You guys are killing it. And the outfits are clean. They're dressing better than you.
We got one dude that looked like Mike Tomlin.
Yeah,
And we got
he does.
another dude that clearly is a fan of Elvis Presley. You see that hairdo? You see that hairdo?
Got nice hair.
It looked like a damn
Love
toupee.
your hair.
But
I
I'm
like
just saying.
Any Given Sunday reference.
Not bad. They got potential. Some of them. None
Such
of
a
them.
tough critic.
Willie
I mean,
Beeman?
none of them ready for this.
Oh,
But we'll see.
Yes.
We'll see.